Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
Salam Radio wishes all our listeners Eid Mubarak.
Salam, sorry I forgot to put my mic up. Hello Salam, this is your host Iram Shah with you for the next 1 hour on another edition of Winning Women on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. A very Eid Mubarak very good Eid Mubarak to all of you that are celebrating. Today we are celebrating with you. Would love for you to tell me where you're listening from. Are you coming out of the mosque? Are you going on eating? Are you brunching, lunching? Message me if you're listening live on the Facebook stream. You can comment below. If you're listening on YouTube, you can also comment below. So just keeping in with all the celebrations, this show is all about celebrating women in business, something I feel very passionate about as a woman myself in business. You can follow me on by finding me, Iram Shah, on Facebook or LinkedIn. Find out how I transform people's finances through property investment. Every week also I'll be showcasing a new guest. So if you're new to the show, you'll love this. I'm providing a platform for other women to tell their story on how they got successful and show that they are the leading expert in their field. You can get involved with the show by calling in on 01733 602 133, or you can comment live on the Facebook or YouTube streams. If you're listening on your car radio, it's 106.2 FM if you're local in Peterborough. So today I have with me a lady that has transformed her life following sort of lots of personal tribulations, then through her charitable work, studies as a mature student, and she's opened up 2 award-winning e-commerce businesses, so while starting a family. So please do welcome Sanam Chowdhury. Hello, Sanam.
Hi, Iram.
Hi.
Wow, that's a great introduction. Thank you.
So Eid Mubarak to you, Sanam.
Mubarak to you and everybody listening.
Thank you. Really looking forward to speaking to you today. And
Likewise.
Thank you. And Sanam, for the listeners that don't know a lot about you, I would love to sort of go in a little bit in depth and explore where you got your drive from, how you've become so successful, and how you got started. Would that be all right?
Yeah, I'll try my best. So yeah, my name's Sanam, and as your wonderful introduction explained, but I think the drive started very young. My mum was in business, and then she also taught fashion and textiles and stuff like that. So seeing a working mum was always sort of had me on the go and wanting to be able to adapt to a lifestyle. She was sort of single-handedly bringing up 3 children while she was working for herself and learning and that sort of thing. So that, I think in the first instance, that was my first example of seeing somebody have drive and thriving. And then I think through my teen years, I had an arranged marriage very early that didn't work out, and because of that, I missed out on going to university. So at that point, I'd already left home, so I started working in business management. So I was one of the youngest managers in my early 20s at that time in several of the companies that I worked for. So again, I think the training was definitely a continuation of the training to sort of get me where I am today. And you mentioned that I went to university. Yes, so I went as a mature student to study politics. And it was actually while at university, I had several friends that would ask me to thread their eyebrows and facial hair. And we're talking non-Asian friends who would pay a fortune, in the middle of shopping centres to get this treatment when they could get it for free from me. And of course, any women listening that are of an ethnic background, of course you know about facial hair, of course you know about threading. So this was something that I grew up with and was sort of a natural technique to me because I'd done it so long. Anyway, I mean, that sort of triggered a thought that actually we needed a more efficient way for people to do it in a more private way. I feel like it's a personal treatment that people should be able to do, and I always cringed at the idea of going to the middle of a shopping centre, pulling your face while someone pulls hair out of it for everybody to see. I just thought that was bizarre. But it did get, the concept of threading out there, and the world started to know about it. Anyway, so I started to research sort of tools that might be available for people to be able to do this at home cheaply and, with privacy, really. And I'd seen some products that were flimsy and, not working very well, but the concept was quite similar in that with a thread, I'm going to go technical now, but with a thread, you're almost creating a really tiny coil with a thread, right? So the idea of creating a coil that moves around your face and pulls out multiple hairs was there. So I went off to B&Q and brought lots of springs and sellotaped the ends and just tried to create these prototypes just to see how it would work in different sizes, and came up with something.
Fabulous.
And
Yes.
so I got some actual prototypes made, and enter Tweezy.
Fabulous. So Sam, that was a really good overview of your business, Tweezy. I just want to remind the listeners that are listening in, they're all celebrating Eid. So Eid is made, a lot of people are doing it today in Peterborough and neighbouring places. So Eid Mubarak to you again. Do join us to celebrate this great achievement, Sanam being a woman in business and achieving what she has. Sanam, one of the things I just want to touch and take you back a little bit. As a result of being married early and then in your marriage that didn't sort of go with proceed, you then said that how did your education aspirations were disrupted? How important was it for you to pick up your education from where you left off and where you left off?
Oh, so important. It was always a dream to go to university. I kind of assumed that was always going to happen. So when disrupted, it kind of set me back. And although, we were talking about this drive that I sort of already had, I went straight into the world of work and excelled very quickly. So while I could have continued without having gone into higher education, I still felt like there was something missing. So it was actually through therapy that I kind of discovered that actually that's something that I should go back and do, because again, I felt like it was just that void that wasn't able to happen because of this other aspect of my life. So I decided to pack in working for a little while and going to university.
Fabulous. And then when you were at university, that's when you sort of started finding these business ideas, which we'll touch on in a moment. I just want to take you back a little bit again. So you mentioned your therapy. What sort of lessons have you drawn from your therapy that you're taking forward in your business life?
Oh, I mean, so many. It's such a complex, multi-layered sort of experience that you sort of have to go through, and it can be, you know, a really long journey as well. But you know, I mean, I guess it starts with learning a lot about oneself, and even looking back at your childhood, and you know, sort of stepping back to go forward, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had a moment, really, a light bulb moment where I was feeling sorry for myself. I was angry for a few years that I couldn't go to university. You know, that's the one thing, and someone else is to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just through therapy, just a couple of sessions, where it just hit me that I'm kind of carrying this narrative with me,
Mm-hmm.
that because of somebody else or something else, an event, I couldn't continue my education, and that's why that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
When actually I didn't have to do that. I was responsible for my own life, in charge of my own life, thriving in my life. Why not go to university and do it for myself, and own it? And you know, it was that moment that I really kind of thought, I can't go through life now to sort of, I think, just blame the lack of something
Mm-hmm.
on my history when I've got my entire future ahead of me, and I'm in control of it, you know. So yeah, that was the point that I decided and applied for university. And again, this was all very hard because
Mm-hmm.
when I say I got married early, I was in my teens. I didn't even do my A levels,
Mm-hmm.
so it was just after my GCSEs that I got married. So with 0 A levels, applying for university, and you know, not really understanding education at that sort of level, I just kind of took the plunge. And while being at university, I discovered that I'm dyslexic, which explained a lot, and you know, why I struggled at school and things like that. But that really helped me to understand myself even more.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like university became my therapy in a way as well, because there was a lot of self-discovery and a lot of learning how to learn myself, and how to study. But it also made me accept that I am a little bit different to the majority of people, and to embrace my sort of creative, flexible mentality when it comes to my work as well, because I'd just gone into this world of business, which is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, very rigid, very serious. And actually, the dyslexia diagnosis really kind of allowed me to get my real personality back as well, and that encouraged me to set up the business too, because you know, and they say a lot of entrepreneurs, or although I cringe at that word, a lot of business people tend to be dyslexic or have this creative sense about them. So yeah, it kind of just helped heal a lot of personal stuff, but also move towards a business world, really.
Yeah, and I think you're right in what you're saying, Sanam. So dyslexia, as you mentioned, you know, a lot of some of the unique strengths of somebody who's dyslexic are creativity, and I'm sure all of those things that have, like you say, explained why you felt different, you know, and maybe why you were struggling in your written communication, but probably your strengths lied more with your imagination, your creativity. So how do you think, so now knowing that, really owning that, how do you feel that's empowered you? Do you feel quite vocal about saying that you're dyslexic?
Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up thinking that dyslexia is and everybody still calls it a learning disability. And I embrace mine as a learning ability because I have this different window to be able to understand different subjects. And, you're kind of forced to be more creative with how you articulate yourself, how you write, how you learn. So I really embrace my dyslexia, and I'm just pleased that I know what's right with me. I was going to say what's wrong with me, but it's what's right with me. I mean, I think there's nothing to be ashamed of. There was a time, I think, when people saw it as dyslexia with behavioral issues. And again, we now know through research that that's as a result of people not being able to study well, feel uncomfortable in the learning environment, and then misbehaving and that kind of thing. So, it explains a lot about me and how I grew up. I mean, I still did well at school because, you see, dyslexia doesn't mean that you don't have intellectual ability. It's just the way in which you learn. So it's just sort of new techniques that you have to learn. It has no impact on your intellectual ability whatsoever. So I was still sort of in these high subjects, but then because they assumed that this is a clever girl, but then I couldn't really study, and I just didn't understand why I couldn't get a hang of algebra and stuff like that. I can now if I really tried, because I have a different way of learning it.
Yeah, and Sanam, also certain communities are probably a little bit unaware about certain conditions, and there's also a stigma behind it. How do you think dyslexia has been? How do you think it's perceived in our community, the Asian community, people around you? What would you say to that?
These things like learning, I'm going to call it learning disability because that's how everybody recognizes it. But people assume that it means a real lacking, and especially in the South Asian community, we have a lot of immigrant parents who came here to do well, so they have pushed their children to go into education and go into very sort of affluent but straight-laced professions as well, doctors, lawyers, etc., the stigmas. And when their children can't do that, they assume that they're at the opposite end of the spectrum and won't be able to achieve those, handful of careers that they see as successful. So because they can't attain that, they assume then that, they're not, they're just not going to be successful in life. So which I understand, because of their own history and their own mentality. I'm talking about parents. But I think our generation is definitely adjusting because, we're now second, third, fourth generation here now. And people, especially our generation, we're looking at more creative careers. We've got great, photographers. We've got great artists, business people. So I think it's not as sort of narrow-minded as it used to be. There is still some work to be done, but I think that that stigma is starting to change. I think the people that worry about it for their children, honestly, I think the best way is to embrace it. The more I look at my dyslexia, if my characteristics were embraced as a child, I mean, my lifelong dream ever since I was a child was to be an artist and a fashion designer. So, that was what I grew up with because, my mum was teaching fashion, textiles and stuff. And I think if that had been embraced, I would have absolutely gone down that, down that road and just been this wacky artist or something like that. And it would, it would have been a lot of fun. I'm happy where I am now. your children can be successful, I think, if you still embrace them and sort of follow their strengths as opposed to their limitations.
Yes, yeah. So what advice would you give to parents that are seeing signs of dyslexia, or what are the signs of dyslexia, would you say? What would you say to parents out there?
I mean, there's such a spectrum of dyslexia as well.
Yeah.
So you can get sort of really extreme, impossible to read, to where you can still read, but you just need mechanisms to help you. So there's such a spectrum. It's difficult for me, I'm not a dyslexia expert, but if you just see signs that, while they're reading or while they're writing, mine were things like writing my D's and D's backwards, or when I would read words wrong. So I could read a perfect sentence, but the odd word would just look jumbled to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my parents wouldn't have recognized that because, again, I come from a generation where my parents didn't necessarily sit down with me to read. I used to just go to the library and read on my own. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. I just knew that I was having to read extra slow and read more to compensate for my lacking at school, and learn to articulate myself better. So I was having to read a bit more. But I think, parents, get your kids tested. If you feel like there's something up, get your kids tested. I think schools tend to these days focus only on extreme cases. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes I think the kids, this is just my personal opinion, again, through no expertise whatsoever, but when kids are in lower subjects, sort of the lower levels, it's worth investigating why, because they still have strengths, but being pushed into a classroom full of other people that aren't considered as capable is not really helpful to those kids. Mm-hmm. So it's worth investigating why they're in their subject and then finding their strengths. Parents themselves, I mean, I know what I would do with my daughter if that was the case. I absolutely think that going to a regular school despite having dyslexia has kind of helped my strength. Mm-hmm. Had I been marginalized and gone to a very special school or anything like that, I think for me personally that wouldn't have worked. Yeah. So again, it's so unique and it's such a personal sort of issue. When you get your diagnosis, it explains to you sort of all the things that can help you and whether you need to adjust your computers and that kind of thing. So you get your very own recommendations from the educational psychologist, and that can just support you to get through life. Even if you want to then do a straight-laced job, you can still become a doctor, a lawyer. We have plenty of those that are dyslexic. You just need the mechanisms to get you through.
Thank you so much, Sanam, for sharing that. I think there's some really good points there that you've shared from your own experiences, which is really good. Now, one of the from the childhood, so thank you very much for that. Now, one of the strengths and the really unique things about people that have got dyslexia is that they're very good at problem solving and seeing things in a very simplified fashion, so which allow them to make decisions quite quickly. Now, both your businesses have started with that. You've identified a problem like you touched on earlier, and they were to find a solution quite quickly and implement, execute it into a plan of action. Just talk us through that process.
Yeah, you're quite right. I think, again, this was sort of a natural part of my character. Mm-hmm. And, boiling it down to dyslexia, but upbringing and conditioning and all of that, it is a way where I think we kind of have our eyes on the goal and the outcome, and we can kind of see a world just with a different lens. So when you come across a problem, it's not, oh, let me go through this strategy and take it. You just kind of know from the top of your head, like, what would be the best way that this can be overcome. I mean, in most of my employed work, I'm a project management consultant as well, but the nature of that is being a troubleshooter for organizations. So a lot of my employed work has been change management and things like that, because there's this creative approach in how you find a solution. And I mean, with both of my businesses, it was, I mean, they started kind of with very sort of personal views on both topics. We haven't talked about the menstrual cup yet, but I'm sure we'll get on to that.
After the
break.
But
yeah, with both of them, they started off as sort of personal mini ventures, and then, you know, grew. So yeah, just sort of seeing that there's a problem out there, social stigmas out there with both, you know, there's a consistent thread with all of my the kind of work I do and the kind of the extracurricular activities I do as well, because it's all about usually women. So, you know, a great place to talk, women. And it's usually to tackle a stigma, a problem that women face, very personal problems, and just sort of opening that dialogue about those sort of subjects.
Fabulous. So now I'm just going to stop you there. We're going on a break for 5 minutes. When we come back from the break, we're going to touch on Sanam's two e-commerce businesses, Tweezy and about the menstrual cup. So do join us after the break. And if you're listening live, do comment below and let us know how you're enjoying the show. Thank you. See you soon.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
हाँ बिलाल, मैं हमारी ग्रोसरी और हलाल मीट के लिए मुख्तलिफ स्टोर्स पर जाते जाते थक चुकी हूँ। पार्किंग हमेशा से एक मसला रहा है और मुझे आखिरी बार एक पार्किंग टिकट भी मिला है।
कितनी दफा बता चुका हूँ, 232 लिंकन रोड पीटरबरो पर पार्क फूड्स को ट्राई करो। ये कैम्ब्रिजशायर की सबसे बड़ी एथनिक सुपरमार्केट है और उनके पास 1 घंटे के लिए फ्री कस्टमर कार पार्क है।
वाओ, रियली? लेकिन क्या मैं वहाँ से सब कुछ खरीद सकती हूँ?
यस, fresh quality fruit, vegetables, dairy product, halal meat and poultry delivered every day. It really is a one-stop shop. Plus, Park Foods carry a huge range of brands from around the world and thousands of products in their daily use household range.
मैं अभी जाना चाहती हूँ। वो कब तक खुलते हैं?
Monday to Saturday, 8:30 to 8 p.m. and 11 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. और ये बहुत ही साफ और महफूज है और कोविड गाइडलाइंस को फॉलो किया जाता है। तो फिर चलें, शाजिया।
Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Secure your property with H Secure Tech. App-based intruder alarm with panic alarm function, control and monitor from your phone anywhere in the world. Reduced false alarms, pet-friendly and get instant alerts. No monthly fees. Also fire protection, perimeter protection and CCTV integration. Call 01733 590 201 or email info@hsecuretech.com. Visit our website at hsecuretech.com. H Secure Tech, Peterborough's trusted supplier and installer of home security systems.
Hello, son.
Assalamu alaikum, Mum. How are the preparations for Eid coming along?
Walaikum assalam. Really well. Thanks to your contribution, we can make sure everyone gets their equal share. How did you get it here so fast?
Oh, it's easy. World Remit lets me send money abroad in minutes. I actually just sent you a little more before leaving work, so you can buy yourself a nice outfit to celebrate Eid from me.
MashaAllah. Wow, I've already got it. And you're not even home yet. Bless you, my son.
World Remit. A better way to send money. Download the app or visit worldremit.com.
एक बार फिर कुर्बानी का वक्त आन पहुंचा है। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह गुज़िश्ता साल यूके इस्लामिक मिशन ने आपकी दी कुर्बानी को दुनिया भर में 6 लाख से जायद इंतहाई मुस्तहक लोगों तक पहुंचाया। इस साल भी जरूरतमंद खानदानों तक कुर्बानी का ताज़ा और सेहतमंद गोश्त पहुंचाएं। सिर्फ 25 पाउंड से इस्लामी उसूलों के मुताबिक कुर्बानी दीजिए। टू बुक योर कुर्बानी कॉल नाउ 0207 387 2157 or visit ukim.org.
दोस्ता कियां परेशान है
जरा कर ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं अमार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
आलाता उथे कै स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां म्यारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक नो टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शय लबनी
और जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374
Salam Radio wishes all our listeners Eid Mubarak.
Hello, welcome back to another edition of Winning Women on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. Eid Mubarak to all of you that are celebrating. Do message me, tell me what you're doing. Have you come out of the mosque? Are you brunching now? Let me know what you're doing. You can comment live on the live stream on Facebook or YouTube. Or you can call in on 01733 602 133. If you're listening, if you're local, you can listen live on your car radio as well on 106.2 FM. Really looking forward to hearing from some of you. I've got on the show with me our guest, Sanam Chowdhury, who we are celebrating for her success in business. Just before the show, hello, welcome back, Sanam. Hi, Sanam. Just before the adverts, we were talking about the 2 e-commerce business that you've set up as a result of problem solving, etc. We touched on your Tweezy, which was your first one. So this was like it's a problem solving hair removal based on threading principles. Is that correct? Threading.
Yeah, so I mean, the hero product started as a facial hair remover, and then we've, over the years, expanded into other beauty tools that, again, carry the ethos of being able to, do beauty at home, so, yeah.
And how did you decide the format to be an e-commerce business? How's that working for you? Why did you decide to have an e-commerce one?
It wasn't, I wouldn't say it was a decision from the offset. It was, I mean, initially it was just a thought to solve a problem for people I know. Mm-hmm. So it started very small. It just kind of evolved, and then my drive for it got bigger. Going into the beauty industry in this way was never really, it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't a passion of mine to sort of go and solve this problem for people. Mm-hmm. But the business aspect is very obviously unglamorous and not beautiful. Mm-hmm. But
very beautiful.
It just became very... the way to do it. I mean, we have the internet on our side. Society has changed. People are buying a lot more on the internet. I did have a few offers to launch Tweezy in some big name retailers, but I chose against it because for small businesses, they're not necessarily always viable. So while some people thought that it was a crazy decision, why wouldn't you go to these big retailers? I just didn't think that was the way I wanted to go. I knew that what I had was good, and I wanted to, keep all my money, frankly. I didn't want to have to share a cut with a big business just because it's accessible in their stores, So I think online was the best way. I do have other retailers that do stock my products for both businesses, but I am very selective with that. I won't go too mainstream. It will be very carefully thought through who's going to stock it.
Fabulous. And you've also said, Salam, in our previous conversations off air, that this product has also set a precedence for other products that have come across. So there's been lots of different innovations of this, and you've been the leading expert on this. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good. I'm not going to lie, again, as small business owner doing big things, it felt like my ideas being stolen and just carried off with. But actually it's a compliment. Clearly there was a need for it. Clearly bringing this innovation to the Western market was a good step on my part, and if other people are going to grow their businesses from it, that's fine. A lot of people know that the Tweezy brand is the original product. We've had a lot of press around it. We've had a lot of leading beauty experts that are behind the Tweezy brand and the products. So a lot of those other products are being sold on the back of Tweezy, which is fine because that happens in business. I guess it's a bit like buying a vacuum cleaner and the Hoover. You kind of buy the brand sometimes rather than something that you don't know that much about. It's fine, and actually I'm quite proud of that.
Very good. And how can we find out more about the product that you offer on Tweezy?
Go to the website, social media. We have the website is tweezy.co.uk. Tweezy is spelled Tweezy. And you're on the website, you'll find the social media platforms and everything that you need to know.
Fabulous. And we've got a listener. We've got one of my contacts, actually, Adam Ahmed. Thank you so much for joining in. He says hi, and he's joining in for a while. Thank you so much. He's helping me read, actually get back into reading. He has a fantastic book club. So thank you so much, Adam. And also, I want to touch on your other business, which is, he's put a link in as well. Thank you, Adam. He's put, also, you've got another business on the menstrual cup. Just tell us what problems you saw in the market and how have you come about how are you resolving those problems?
Yeah, so the menstrual cup is a bit of it's a taboo subject, especially in the South Asian community or most ethnic background communities, in particularly the Muslim community. So it's something that's again started off personal to me. I was looking for solutions for myself, really, because I really didn't like the idea of these disposable products that I knew were really bad for the planet. And upon reading that they're bleached and kept near very sensitive areas of your skin, and that for me, I just wanted a healthier option. I felt like it was time for change in this area.
So the existing sanitary pads, you're saying, would just,
Existing sanitary pads, tampons, and just some stats here for you. The average woman uses approximately 16,000 disposable sanitary products in her lifetime. That makes it approximately 25 billion disposed globally each year. Now, just to give you an idea, just one single sanitary pad or tampon takes years and years to biodegrade. So it's sitting in landfill beyond your lifetime. So it's going to outlive you, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and more than that. So if you think about it, just one is having that impact. How many are of women using, on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, monthly basis, annual basis in our lifetime? It's just crazy when you think of it like that. We are leaving our planet for our children and grandchildren in such a state. We hear about climate change and the issues that, it's giving us with not just the weather, but our sea world, our animals are dying. We need to do better. I especially think in the South Asian community, I'm not sure we're taking this subject seriously enough. So,
why do you think that is? Do you think it's because we're comfortable using the mainstream products, or is it just ignorant of the fact that it's not sustainable? Those products are not sustainable.
Yeah, I think in our communities we have lack of information that's accessible to people that understand things in different ways. We have adverts for what's going on with the planet and climate change on channels and around programs that I don't think the South Asian community would be watching. But I don't know if you've seen any of these sort of Asian channels, even radio stations. We're not talking about climate change to begin with, let alone the things we can do, like use alternative sanitary products. I've not heard any adverts on this radio station either. It's very common. It's not, it's not unique to anybody or a criticism. It's just that we need to do better and we need to be more proactive in this. So climate change is obviously a bigger issue, and we can't all tackle every aspect of it. But in terms of sanitary products, for me, that's a big thing because, women are pretty much half the planet. A lot of us are using it, especially in the West. So, we don't talk about this subject enough, and that's why it just gets sort of brushed under the carpet or just never talked about. It's so taboo. And I think that's probably why in the South Asian community this is not something that's promoted very much.
I agree. I definitely agree with the taboo subject. I feel like it's something that's quite hidden. It's not talked about. It's just something you get on with. So I think definitely more awareness needs to be created.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, you also mentioned about being very, it's in the Western society, but actually because the menstrual cup is actually a lot cheaper than other sanitary products, so it would work really well in poorer areas and poorer countries. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a number of menstrual cup campaigns going on actually in Pakistan. I imagine a large following of this radio is Pakistani as well. So, it's not like, I just hope people at home right now aren't cringing thinking, oh, why are we talking about this? People are talking about it in Pakistan to get it out there and be a cheaper alternative for women who are, out there in the sun all day, and then, they don't even have a proper rubbish collection system as we do here in the UK, for example. So where are they disposing it? Right in their environment, where it's just going to, make their very own environment difficult to live in for their children and grandchildren. So, it's the topic is growing, and it is becoming less taboo, if you like. I think the older generation could do with talking about it more. It would actually be helpful because it's healthier. I mean, just to go into some of the medical side of it and the science of it, sanitary pads and tampons are made from things like cotton and fibres that have been bleached to make them white, to look more sanitary. Now, you wouldn't put something that was bleached and full of chemicals in your mouth. Yeah. No. So I'm getting quite extreme here, but you wouldn't do that.
No.
So why would you be happy to keep that near a very sensitive area in your body? So for me, I just think there's things like, women have a lot of issues with pH balance, again, stuff they're not talking about. They're not going probably to the doctor even to discuss issues that they can have. And sanitary products are the culprit. With menstrual cups, and again, menstrual cups are entirely a choice. This isn't, I promote menstrual cups because I think they're great, and I've done a lot of research, before launching the business. But, there are other reusable sanitary pads that you can use. It's not a be-all, end-all, and I'm, a huge believer in people having that kind of choice around it. But with menstrual cups in particular, they're made from medical-grade silicone, especially my brand. There's no other chemical in it. Medical grade means that it's almost like you're not using anything. There's no traces, no after effects of it. And because it's silicone, it's really soft. And I think people really sort of shudder at the idea that you're inserting a silicone object into your body. But I can promise you, look at the website for more information, do your Google research and all that kind of stuff. It's better than a tampon. It's even better than a sanitary pad that you're not even inserting in your body, because of the lack of chemicals and bleach and things like that. And as you said, yes, it's a cheaper option because in your lifetime you'll probably changing your menstrual cup maybe 4 or 5 times in your life. Whereas again with sanitary products, again 16,000 disposables in the average lifetime of a woman. So imagine the monthly cost of that. And I just want to highlight, the patriarchy and the government is not on our side when it comes to sanitary products as it is. We have to pay a tax on it. So while it's a natural occurrence and half the world goes through it, a lot of governments seem to think that they're considered to be under the category of luxury products. So we have to pay a tax on it. I believe men's shaving products are not luxury products. They're seen as a necessity, but women's sanitary products are taxed.
Is that right?
So there you go.
Gosh.
Yeah, so there you go. But do some fact-checking, people, because, I'm just sort of giving you figures from the top of my head at the moment. So, with the menstrual cup, it's better for you. It's medical grade. It's, again, healthier, cheaper, better for your wallet, sustainable for the planet, and for the future generations. Like, for me, this was a no-brainer, and I didn't understand why it wasn't talked about, But here's the thing now. So we're talking about the South Asian community. I can understand why my mum wouldn't have talked about tampons with me to begin with, and let alone things like menstrual cups. They weren't out at the time, but we have a big thing in our communities about virginity and sexual health and things like that. But we don't talk about it. That's the issue. There's a stigma with it, but we don't talk about it. Now, we now know through science that is all hearsay, and it's not. It doesn't necessarily affect your virginity and things like that, So I think a lot of people should be encouraged now to really kind of delve into that subject and think about it for the sake of their daughters, sisters, mothers, and the future generations. I know this is a difficult topic to open up, but we need to have that dialogue with the women in our lives, because this is our health. This is how we become mothers. We give life through this. So it's philosophically, emotionally, mentally, physically, everything. I just feel like we really have to make a big change, I think, and it has to be drastic. One of the mottos of the menstrual cup, which is, I've called it Bloody Heaven. .co.uk, that's the website, and one of the mottos is be loud and be proud.
Very good.
Now, it doesn't mean you be brash, and you can still be sensitive about it. We can still have a vocabulary that's acceptable to people, but it's just to not be ashamed. It's not a shameful thing. Everybody has it, so why are we,
why do we not talk about it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that the current mainstream products have made up all those chemicals, people don't realise when they're in close contact with you, that could actually enter your bloodstream as well, can't it? So this is...
Exactly. They've been known to cause cancers and things like that. And then, here we are as women wondering why we have cancers in certain areas that we shouldn't be having. But, of course, it's all the stuff that we're putting in and on our bodies.
Yeah.
We have to do our best to, give ourselves better health, I think. I just don't think people realise. And, of course, a lot of the sanitary products, if we really look into it, and I know what I'm asking of people is, a big shake-up in mentality. But even... the big sanitary product companies, they're owned by a lot of males. So,
are they? Okay.
So they're not. They may have women working for them. They may do a bit of research on women, but they carry the narrative for us women for a very long time. As women have been told that menstrual blood is dirty, even in the advert. For menstrual products, what colour is the liquid that they use? It's blue. We don't bleed blue, so we're already sort of subconsciously being told that this is dirty, this is, we shouldn't really talk about it. We're doing an advert on television, but we're not really talking about it. So there's so many stigmas that the Western world have told us, let alone the South Asian community on this. So, it's going to take a lot of people to really kind of push the boundaries with their parents and their sisters and daughters and things like that, because we already have this subconscious view on this topic. There's already people that are probably agreeing with the things I'm saying, but think I still wouldn't use a menstrual cup because I couldn't, because the concept of it is still quite scary. But all I say is just do your research, have a look. It could change your life, and the future generations, our sea life, etc. It's worth at least doing some research into.
Yeah, and our listener Adam Ahmed has come back on again, and he's actually put the website link on the end of the on the live stream as well, bloodyheaven.co.uk. So do check it out. He's also mentioned and stressed how it's important that difficult topics need to be discussed and normalised to be able to look at different options and solutions. We need the avoidance through shame and discomfort is not an excuse. He's also gone on to buy a book for himself on IVF, which he's educating himself on, because he knows it affects a lot of women. And I think actually you've inspired me to bring on more difficult topics as well. So thank you, Sanam, for that. I think that's really inspiring. So what are your future business aspirations with your business? Have you got anything? Have you got any other problems that you're looking to solve? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always setting up businesses, and just the everyday conversation usually ignites something in my belly to start something up. At the moment, I am just looking to grow what I already have. I also run the property business, so, buying and renting and that kind of thing. So I probably want to talk to you offline for some advice. But, I'm also a mother to a toddler. So, there's a lot of life going on as well, and I'm multitasking all the time. As I said, I work as a consultant as well, so I'm advising other businesses. in how to set up their companies and everything. So I'm juggling a lot. So, and I'm enjoying that. Again, it's the dyslexia. I can't do the straight-laced. I have to be doing a different thing each day. But I'm really just enjoying that and enjoying that pressure. At the moment, it's good pressure. So I probably won't launch a new brand, but possibly new products within the Tweezy and Menstrual Cup companies. So watch this space.
Fabulous. Well, we're looking forward to it. So how can people engage with you online?
Social media, Instagram is a great way. My personal one is miss.sunny.chowdhury. You can go on tweezy.co.uk, as I said. That's the website. That's also the handle for Instagram. And then there's Bloody Heaven Cup, which is the Instagram handle for the menstrual cup. And happily, I'll happily speak to somebody if you want any advice on business, or you just want to get in touch to talk about your story or more information on any of the products. Just get in touch.
Fabulous. Well, in the last couple of minutes, one of the things we didn't touch on, I know this is a massive, we've only got 1 minute left, we've got no time. I really wanted to touch on your work with the Sharon Project, some charity work you're doing. I would advise all our listeners to follow Sanam, and on there's a link to her work that she's doing. And I'd really just, we've got about a few seconds, you can, if you don't mind, just touching on how your role has evolved as an ambassador there.
So I used to be a director there, a trustee, because it's a charity, and now I'm an ambassador. Basically, the work of the Sharon Project is to support women to lead independent lives without fear. It's culturally sensitive support, so, specifically around South Asian, but not discriminating any background. There's always an overlap.
But we have to stop.
And the aim is to empower, educate and inspire women.
Thank you very much, Sanam. Please follow Sanam for more information. Eid Mubarak to you all. Take care.